All right, we got 2 games left. Next up, we've got the ACC championship, Duke and Virginia. It is Virginia 3.5-point home favorites, or 3.5-point favorites, 57.5 the total. This game on a neutral field at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, home of the Carolina Panthers. That's where this game is every year. It's hard to believe Duke found their way into the ACC championship game, but because of all the tiebreaker scenarios that broke right for them, they are here in this ACC championship game. Like I said, if Duke were to beat Virginia, James Madison and some other group of 5 team could be the beneficiary, or some other power conference team that's on the bubble of the playoff could actually get in as well. So that's what could happen if Duke were to emerge, because Duke is not likely going to get in as an ACC champion to the playoffs. There's too many bad losses. Like the UConn loss is going to keep them out. That there's just no way, that even if Duke wins the ACC championship, that they're going to be in the college football playoff. Virginia would be in the playoff if they win this ACC championship game, but not Duke. So that's why if Duke wins, it is going to cause chaos, as our guy in the chat, Mr. Kidd, says. So, yeah, I totally. I mean, if you're any of these teams that are on the fringe of the playoff right now, you're actually rooting like hell, in this scenario here for, Duke to cause some carnage here in this game and maybe open up a spot for you. But nevertheless, will they be able to is the question. One thing's for sure about Duke is they still can't stop anybody on defense. It's still a problem. Now, against Wake Forest, they still struggled on defense, but their offense with Darian Mensah and company came alive. And boy, oh boy, to do that against a pretty good Wake Forest defense, I got to admit, I was very impressed. And we know Duke has been carried this season, without a doubt, by their offense. But, 49 points in that game against Wake Forest. They had 378 total yards. Now, they gave up 342 through the air and 126 on the ground, but they benefited big time from Wake Forest mistakes, Wake Forest turnovers, 3 lost fumbles for Wake Forest in that game against Duke. So keep that in mind. And Duke was certainly able to capitalize on those, even though Wake Forest still had the edge as far as outgaining Duke in that victory. But it matters not when you put the ball on the turf as many times as Wake did with those fumbles. So be careful of reading too much into Duke. Be careful of looking at that as too much of a positive for Duke. That victory, because Wake made a lot of mistakes in that game, and the Duke defense still struggled. I don't know how they stopped Chandler Morris. They certainly didn't stop Chandler Morris and the Virginia offense when they played during the regular season, as it was 34-17 Virginia back on November 15th when they played. And that game was at Duke, too. Like, that was Virginia going to Duke and putting a number on them as far as their offense. Morris had 316 through the air, and if not for 2 interceptions, it probably could have been worse. Jamari Taylor and Harrison Whaley, they ended up combining for a solid day on the ground as well, including 2 rushing touchdowns. The money's come in early on Virginia. They see that the offense dominated this Duke defense. This Duke defense still struggling to get stops right now. It's hard to argue with it. It really is, because Virginia. Now, I do worry about coming off the big emotional win of playing a rival like Virginia Tech last week. Is there a bit of an emotional hangover for Virginia in this game? But I don't know if that's enough for me to want to trust Duke, and especially Duke's defense, to stop them. So Virginia team total, I already bet it. I like it. I probably like that more than the 3.5, because you just never know, right? Duke's offense, when it's on, it can move the football. It can put up points in bunches. And so there's always that possibility, they're down by 9 points, in the fourth quarter, and they get a backdoor touchdown and cover the number. So, like I said, for Virginia, I prefer the team total for them in this game. You can find that right now currently at 29.5, 30.5 with the Virginia team total. I do think they get into the 30s here, because everybody's getting into the 30s. for the most part here against Duke's defense. I mean, the numbers have been dreadful. They give up 32 to Wake, 34 to Virginia, 37 to UConn, 45 to Clemson. They only gave up 25 to North Carolina, but North Carolina's offense has been bad all year. It struggled to move the football and put up points all year. That's the only team lately that Duke has held below 30 points. So I don't see them keeping Virginia below that 30 mark. C-Mac, what do you think here? ACC title, Duke, Virginia.
Yeah, I agree. I think their team total, I think get the 3 just to be safe. I think they cover this number, even though this is I know Duke, the one thing is Duke's played them. You talked about that game. There was all dominated by Virginia. Time of possession, throwing it, they just dominated Duke in that game with 540 yards. So I think they remember it. The team just can't stop anyone. Virginia has a defense. This team is pretty good. Duke has pretty good offense. Can they get in the 20? Keep this game close? And I think the only thing is, hey, we're here. We're dogs. We got nothing to lose. You know how this rolls in these games. We see it again.
Oh, Virginia's got to win if they want to make the playoff. They're not getting in without an ACC championship. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's
why I'm hoping there's no emotional hangover from the Virginia Tech game. You want the playoff, you got to win this. There shouldn't be a hangover. You got to be focused, ready to rock here.
Yeah, Duke shouldn't be able – I don't think they'll be able to run the ball much. This run defense is pretty good with Virginia. And their pass defense is pretty good. But Duke's got to throw it. Right? You got to think that's just where their bread and butter is with 290 a game. So can they make some big plays to keep it close? I don't know, but I know their defense is bad. So I think Virginia scores on them plenty.